You can now follow me on all my social media platforms to find out who my latest guest will be. And don't forget to click the subscribe button and the notifications bell so you're notified for when my next podcast goes live. Boom, we're on.
Hey.
And today's guest is Chris Baker. How are we, Chrissy boy?
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you, James, for letting me on.
Yeah.
It's a great opportunity.
I've interviewed a lot of criminals, a lot of bad men. Listen, you've been in prison yourself, but you're something different. You've got one arm, you're a robber, you've done over 10 years in prison. You're trying to change it all now and do better in life, do motivational speaking. So hopefully this podcast will shed good light on your life that you have changed and opened doors for you, brother. But first and foremost, how are you?
I'm brilliant. Yeah, I'm really good, James. Just been living life of a pro-social life, not getting into crime. It's been good. Like, now I feel relieved in a way. Like, there's no more watching over your shoulder life.
Weight off your shoulder.
Yeah, 100%. It's just living a stress-free life in that sense.
Yeah.
It's stressful in that life.
Because we spoke earlier, we spoke about people in prison, but there's not enough spoken about people with disabilities who are in prison, the things that they do. And like I say, we'll get into all the madness. You're one arm, fucking one in prison, robbing. It must have been mad for you, but we'll get into all that. But I always like to go back to the start of my guest, Chris. Get a bit of understanding about you, where you grew up, how it all began.
So I was born in Edmonton, North Middlesex. I grew up in Enfield. It was just me and my mum at first. My dad wasn't around. My mum's got a sister and my nan and my granddad, and it's really small. I didn't see my dad's side of the family. Life was good. Had good Christmases, good birthdays, unconditional love, and things were good for my younger days. Had holidays, went to my nan's. My nan's looked after me. School was okay. I was a bit shy, but yeah, I was just a normal, boisterous good kid. Do you know what I mean? With good family support. We didn't have much money, but it was a good life. We lived in a council estate on a high-rise block, but yeah, my mum was great.
What were you like at school?
I was quiet and a bit shy in primary school. In my younger schools, yeah, like I got on with people. I had friends, but I just was a bit quiet. I would say a bit shy.
Your dad was in for murder, is that correct?
No, my dad wasn't about at that time. He wasn't around. He was in prison. Yeah.
What was it for? Can you say?
Not really. I thought
it was for murder. I read that. Maybe I picked it up wrong.
He got free. At that time, he was doing 8 years. He done. So he wasn't 6 years. Sorry, he wasn't about from 2, and then he started coming back at 8.
And he got a lifer as well, did he not?
Yeah, that was like at 10. So he come back at 2, and that's like at 8. Sorry, when I was 8 years old, and that's when things like changed. Because he's different. He picked me up in stolen brand new cars and take me in his car. He'd tell me that the police are like bullies and to watch out for them and hate them. They're bully boys. And I remember like we was at the lights and the lights had gone green and the car behind bipped to tell him it's gone green. He's jumped out, beat him up. And like, it was just, I kind of like idolized that. It was a different way. My mum's not like that, obviously. And for me, it was like, yeah, this is what you're supposed to, this is what men do. This is how you're supposed to act. And yeah, like that was like that for 2 years. And like, he was just teaching me these negative traits, I suppose. And yeah, I kind of, it appealed to me because it was different.
It's mad how we can gravitate to that kind of inward mind young age. It's the glitz and the glam. I always touch on this, even when I grew up, I've seen them all the drug dealers in the convertibles. There's the escort convertibles back then, big blondes, girlfriends fucking stunning, sunbed tan. They were beautiful. Well, I thought they were beautiful then, but as time progresses, 10 years, 15 years, you see them in prison. The girls are haggard. They come out and they're still hanging on to that something that's just, they can't ever chase back because you never win. There's probably one person that I know that's came out that life without many scrapes, living a very successful life, businessman now. The rest, 99%, they're dead or in prison. They're fucked. Chasing a dream it's nothing to dream about because it all turns into a nightmare. In my own opinion, from being raised in that and seeing the people that I've been involved with, you see the destruction. See, when you're that age, was it just good to have your dad around and just, would you have listened to anything he was saying?
Yeah, because he hadn't been there and like, it was just, the way he was just something that I wasn't used to. It's young boy, the father figure's there. It's like, this is what I'm supposed to be. Like, your mum's giving you unconditional love, but he's the role model that you think that you have to aspire to be like, isn't it? And I was just learning bad habits from him and just learning how to be. He was very reactive and very angry, and it was just, I idolized it. I can't lie. Yeah, it was, for me, it was like appealing, like I say, and he just stopped coming around. And this after about 2 years, and my mum sits me down and I'm watching Fresh Prince, and she's like, no, you got to watch the news. I'm like, I don't want to watch the news. And I'm kicking off, and she puts it on, and I see him on the news going to prison for 3 life sentences. And like, that was when it like hit, he's gone. I didn't really understand the reasoning, but what I did notice straight away, instantly, the neighbours changed now. The nice lady at the end of the landing on the block that used to let me in and give me sweets and play with, she's now chasing me, calling me the M-word, and she's putting rubbish on our door. The caretaker's moving funny. Like, the whole neighbourhood changed because he was televised and they'd seen him and obviously didn't agree with what he'd done. And I was instantly rejected. Now I felt shamed, you know what I mean? And then it was just like, this woman's chasing me, and I didn't get it. And I kind of pushed my mum away, like, and she was trying to comfort me, and like went out and played out in the street and got commended for the way I was acting, you know, like, and it's like, yeah, come here. And then negative emotions I'm feeling, I'm getting like kind of hugged from the streets, and that's where it started. Like, I found a belonging or some sort of form of like where I should be, or a purpose that I felt that, or some misguided belief of what I should be doing.
What age were you when you started getting into trouble?
I would say it started from then. So about 10, I would go out and start being more mischievous and like more like angry and negative emotions. But the first actual offence, I think I got done at 12. But it started from then.
Was that you trying to get not the gratification, but feel part of something because your dad was missing again?
Yeah, I felt like that's where I could get my validation. It's what I'd seen him doing. It's about how I'd not so much respect, but like feel that belonging, because I didn't feel like I was worthy or whatever. I just was going out and just, I was just not listening to her, and she felt guilty, and look what position he put her in. Like, it's a horrendous position to be put in as a parent, like having to break that to your son because of his behaviour, and I have empathy for that. But she never punished me because she felt guilty for that. So anything I'd done, even at school, if I'd get chucked out, I'd come home and I knew I wouldn't get punished for my behaviour, because she'd feel responsible for what he's done, you know?
So that was sort of free passes though to then cause mayhem?
I knew that as well. And yeah, she tried, but she would never stick to it because it would be guilt, and I was good at playing on it. And yeah, I knew that I could do what I wanted, like, in a sense. And yeah, the way I looked at things was just not proactive. It was totally believing that everything I was doing or behave that way is the way to be, and this is going to make me a man, or what, like my dad would behave, you know? Like,
yeah. Well, I've spoke to enough people now. When you see the behavioural patterns, you see the trauma responses to everything they're doing coming from the broken home, how much that affects kids, male and female. It's scary. I think someone I had on says that over 70% of people in prison are from broken homes.
Yeah, I've read studies myself. Adverse childhood experiences, there's 80% of prisoners in the UK that have got that, one or more, and then there's like 48% have got 4 or more, because there's a scale of 10. There's 10 questions, like you've got a parent that's abused you or gone to prison, or domestic violence, or a parent with mental health issues. And if you've got a score of up to like 6 or whatever, there's more significant impacts. And yeah, in the prison now, at least 80% have 1 or more, which is crazy, because you can go to prison now and you don't even get asked about it. And they will just say to you, if you've got substance problems, they'll be like, do a substance misuse course. But that's like looking at the leaves, but not the root. Because in prison it's stress-free, isn't it? Like, you're there, you haven't got no stresses really. Like, you might have the wing politics, but there's actually no striving to be successful. There's no like, out here, to be a man and to be doing something positive, it takes a lot, and it's hard, and it's hard work, and you're going to get knockbacks. But in prison, there's none of that. So when you got them issues, you do this awareness course, you come out back into reality, and then stress has hit and you're back on the substances. I think that's why I want to share my journey. I want to explain. So I want people to be looking more at the impacts of this trauma in prisons, so then we can reduce the offending rates and use this as an example. If it resonates with people, that's what I want.
Did your mum, was she worried that you'd have went down the same footsteps as your dad?
Yeah, she was petrified. How many times she sat me down and had these conversations, but it just went in one ear and out the other. Because what I did is I demonized the good and I glorified the bad in my head, and that's how I looked at the world. Like, being bad is good and being good is bad, and it was just, yeah, that I didn't resonate what she'd say.
Were you drinking, smoking weed or anything?
Yeah, I started smoking weed.
Why do you think that's a go-to drug for everybody? For everybody from the streets anyway, including my area. Listen, I was on it for 12 years. I never smoked it till later because it kind of kept me, I wouldn't say sane, but it kept me more of a recluse, because if I was on the coke or the booze, I was a fucking loose cannon. But if I was on the weed, I was stable. I was in the house. I was just eating food. My life was going down the hill because I was putting on weight. I was haggard. I was a lazy cunt anyway. Even though when I'm on it, I'm still fucking lazy. But the weed kind of, it's funny because every drug probably at that time I've come through it, and it kind of, I don't know, kind of kept me alive, even though it was fucking killing me as well. But why do you think that's the go-to drug, the weed?
I don't know. It's like the gateway drug, isn't it? Like, yeah. It's like we start at the weed and you build yourself up. I don't know. For me, it was just like, I suppose again, everyone was doing it. It's part of like, yeah, let's try it. And I don't know. I don't know why I went to it, but it's always the one that everyone starts with.
It fries your brain. I don't give a fuck what anybody says. It's just, I know people can still function on it, but it's the chemicals and stuff and everything that's sprayed with it now. You don't even know what you're smoking. We're just picking it up off the street. Same as the street Valium that was killing everybody. You just don't know who's creating it, who's making it. Obviously people get their grows and stuff, but they're still spraying it with mad shit. And we're just fucking puffing my brains out. For me, it was just, it made sense at the time, but I look back and I look at old photos and I think how grey I was. You turned green. And I think with the shit that I was smoking, but it is what it is. When was the first time you went to prison? Did you ever get jobs or anything beforehand?
Yeah, so,
was everything dodgy?
So after my school, I got chucked out of like 3 different secondary schools.
Expelled?
Yeah.
What for?
For like, what, I was just not able to have the courage. Like, if they asked me to do something, because I was so fearful of, I don't know, rejection or people laughing, I would abuse a teacher or be rude or maybe fight people, fighting, and I'd always get chucked out for my behaviour because I couldn't have the confidence to stand up and read or whatever they would say.
You dyslexic?
No, not even. I can read well, but it's just like I didn't want people to judge me or stand up in that. Like, I don't know. It was a major fear. Like, when they asked me to do something, I'd be like, no. I think it come from like, from young, when I was asked to like watch this news, and then anytime someone asked me to do something, I was like, no, fuck that. And so I was rude to teachers, always getting chucked up for stupid shit, and I just couldn't settle in schools. And then you go to a new school and you're trying to settle and you're having the same problems, and in the end I got chucked out at 15 with no GCSEs.
Were you bullied?
Not bullied. I think people would say things because I'm quiet, and then it would be
escalate.
Yeah, and then I would like go angry because I couldn't control my emotions. But yeah, like, I was quiet, and the quiet ones, obviously, people think that's a weakness before.
Mm-hmm. Were you doing robberies and that beforehand?
Not at that age. It started more like 15, 14. Like, started, yeah.
Stealing? Shoplifting?
Yeah, it started with like petty shit, like opportunist stuff, like shoplifting, thefts, probably knocking a bit of weed out. Yeah, just them sort of crimes. Nothing too serious.
When was the first time you got proper in trouble though? Prison? What age?
I wouldn't even call it proper. Like, I'd done more crimes between then. Because I'd moved from Enfield to Cheshunt now, and I started like robbing all the dealers in Cheshunt because I thought that was cool. Me and my guys would come get the people in Cheshunt and set them up. I'd set them up and we'd take all their drugs and things like this, yeah. And then I refused to do a probation. They told me I got to do some, what's it called, community service. And I said, no, I'm not doing that. And then they put me in prison for like 12 weeks, do 6 the first ever time. I was like 20. That was the first time I ever went to prison.
What was that like? It's easy, isn't it?
Not at first. If anyone says that, I don't know. Maybe that's for them. But in that sweatbox when you're pulling up, it's
That's the scary
it's
part.
the unknown. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know what's going to be in it. I don't know who I'm going to see that I've done a wrong to. I don't know if they're going to be patterned on the wing and nice and I'm landing in their thing and it's going to be on. You don't know what you're to expect. But once you get in there, then yeah, it's easy. Like I say, there's no stresses in prison. There's nothing. You got to worry about nothing. Like you're in prison, like obviously your family and you think, but when you're in prison, you only really think about yourself. Like, oh, I'm doing the time. But actually, it's your family that are impacted. But you don't have the stresses of life when you're in there because everything's just supplied for you. You don't have to do nothing. So
It's like a holiday camp,
it's-
especially the shorter sentences. But like you say, it's going through in the bus, thinking what's behind there. Is there any enemies you hear about? Because I used to see it all the films, and you think that's what it's like. But once you're in, the majority of people are fucking drugged up anyway. There's a lot of weak links in the jail, and once I went through the gates Berlin, and then once I went in, I met people straight away from Portsmouth where I was from, and that was it. I thought it was a Billy Big Balls. Start swaggering about, and it's like you're in a stripe, you're in like a patch, and we're in prison. Only done a few months, and you're out, and then you're swaggering, and
that's
it's
when
a fucking joke.
That's when it escalates because you come in, you think, is that the worst they can give me? Right. And you go back out, and then I was just active. Like I remember went to go and do a deal at his house. We had to smash the front window, climb through the window. Then we're in the house and he's got a knife. And then I'm pretending I got a knife because I didn't. And he dropped it. Luckily, there was 3 of us. So, and then we just took all the drugs and we're doing all these mad aggravated burglaries for drugs. And like, it's reckless because now you know that you've been to prison and the worst they can do is this. And I don't know. I was just trying to prove that in some misguided way that I'm something. And then I not long after getting out of there, I bought this bike and it was stolen and because I was on a ban and I'm driving that around doing what I'm doing. And then I was with my friends in a pub and we're having a drink and he gets a call, his missus has crashed the car. It was the police that called him and his little girl was in the back and his missus died and he had to go. And it was like really traumatic and we're sitting there drinking and then I went left on the bike. My friend saying, don't go on the bike. And I ended up driving the bike, got to where I was going, and then someone else called me and I went there. And as I left them, that's when the blue lights come behind me and I just tried to leave them, come to the bend too fast in Cheshunt and then I started snaking and I just went through this wooden fence thing into a 16-foot ditch down, helmet come off, I hit my head and I'm looking up and there's like a police officer that I actually know from school and I'm like in the ditch and my arm's an open fracture and yeah. And all I remember is them bringing me up on a stretcher, the fireman, and the police officer saying, I need his blood, he may have been drinking and all this. And like the next thing I woke up in the hospital with like 10 broken ribs, punctured lungs, shattered scapula, broken pelvis, vertebrae in my back. I pulled the nerves out of the spine here for this arm. Yeah, it was, and I come out of this induced coma with my family there and I'm like, get me a drink, Bill. And then they're all crying because they're waiting to see if I had brain damage when they come out. And yeah, the dynamic changed then. Because I'm having to deal with the fact that my arm's it was there, but it's in a sling, the emotions that are going through me, feeling sorry for myself. And then they come to me and say, we're going to have to amputate it because it's got sepsis. And at that point, I wanted to just die with it. I was like, no. And they had to, because they said, if you don't sign, your mum will have to. And yeah, that was probably it weren't an aha moment, like where I turned, but it was the hardest thing I had to deal with, yeah.
Yeah, I'd imagine so. Fuck's sake, losing an arm or a leg, and people say, there's so many things you can still do, but again at that, what hand did you write with?
I was right-handed,
That's
yeah.
where you have to fucking start all the shit again, wanking and fucking writing all the mad shit, know what I mean? Fuck the writing, mate, it's your wanking hand, isn't it, mate?
Yeah.
That's the only thing I'll be thinking, what?
Like a stranger
I'll
in prison.
die, mate, fuck it, take me to hell, mate.
I was saying that, but they weren't going to let me. Fucking no, it was difficult, man. But I didn't learn. Honestly, I didn't learn. I just wallowed in self-pity, guilt because I was drinking. I had no one else to blame but myself. I hated myself. I was less confident. I was insecure, and I was more like I I'd carried knives before, but I'd never stabbed no one. But at that point in my life, it was like I needed that because I'm still, well, first of all, I was in my house for 2 years, but like after that, I'm still like, feel like I needed that weapon because I'm in that life with nothing. I've got one arm and I'm extremely vulnerable and I know that. And yeah, it just changed the dynamic and made me probably more aggressive or more stupid, should we say.
So see that night, your friend has lost his missus, and
Dead.
then the same
Same night.
you've crashed and nearly died as well.
100, yeah, it was crazy. It was,
And the screws are just looking over you, not caring about whether you live or die. They're just wanting a blood sample.
yeah, that's all the police said. And then I'm in a wheelchair, right? Because at first I was bedbound for weeks. Yeah, I was in hospital 6 months. I'm in a wheelchair and I'm one arm. I'm going around in circles, James. I promise you I was. Yeah, and they roll up to the hospital, right? And they're talking about we're going to nick you for drink driving on a ban, all this, whatever it is. I'm like, do you think I give a fuck? Fuck off. And then the nurses told him, get out of here. Like, doctor told him, go. Like he doesn't need that right now. And that's all they cared about. And I did go to court for it in the end. And the judge was like to me, I can never punish you more than you punish yourself. I don't want to see you again. But like, the lack of empathy, they didn't give a fuck. It was like, yeah, good.
But you can understand that as well with
yeah.
the shit that you were doing or
100%.
what your dad's done. They're thinking, fuck him.
Yeah, no,
Do you know what I mean? Do you ever think that the shit that you were causing, they thought, fuck it, cut his arm off? Did you ever think about that? I wouldn't. That's just the paranoia kicking in, but I'm thinking because you were doing shit at the time, you probably thought, fuck him, cut his arm off. You know, that'll keep him on the streets. That'll keep him off the streets.
Not till about 20 seconds ago.
Was there no way you could have saved the arm?
I was begging them, but they took like things out of my leg and I don't know what exactly, I can't remember. They put something in the arm and they was trying to save it. They were operated for 12 hours. When I got there, they wanted to airlift me to Royal Free, but I was too critical. So they tried, that's what they told me. But to be honest, yeah, I don't know. If I was in a better hospital, maybe it would have got saved. Chase Farm wasn't the greatest. I don't know. But it ended up being like, I think I've seen someone say before, like your worst nightmare, your biggest gift that comes disguised as your worst nightmare. And it actually ended up, in the end, helping me change and growing from.
Yeah, but don't those surgeons and that, don't they do some amazing jobs to see it? That for me, I don't. But pharmaceutical industry is a different story and a different topic we can touch on. But for the surgeons and these people who do like amputations and saving lives and taking other bits from your arms and legs to keep you alive, the work that those people do is unbelievable. Like, we need those people, and like I say, it's scary at the time, but they've still saved your life. At the time you probably thought, I don't want to be here, but now thankfully it's all paid off. Were you in the coma as well?
Yeah, for
How long?
2 weeks I was in an induced coma, and that's when I come round because I had the helmet come off. I had a serious brain injury, not head injury, sorry, and they thought I might be like mentally gone or whatever it's called. And then everyone's waiting to see if I know anyone when I come round. And that's when I said to Bill, get me a drink, because I've had tubes in my mouth for 2 weeks. And he's like, everyone just started crying because they understood then that at least he's not going to be. I think the arm was gone then, but they just didn't want me to wake up with no arm, can't move, in a bed, not sure if I'm going to be able to walk. It would be too much emotionally, I think, because the arm stunk, man. Honestly, you could smell it, James. It was like you left gone off food for time. It was just like rotting. It was dead. It was there. It was lifeless. It just had metal over it. You could tell they weren't ever going to save it, but I was still hopeful, I suppose.
It's mad though, isn't it? What was the coma like? Can you now people can still hear voices and shit? Did you ever go through any of that?
I didn't remember none of that. I just remember when I come out of it. I don't remember from when I got in the ambulance. I think I lost consciousness then. I lost a lot of blood, had like a lot of blood transfusions. So, yeah, I don't remember that. All I remember is up to going in the ambulance, him asking for the blood, then waking up out of the coma.
Yeah. Did you just have a pair of jeans on, t-shirt?
Yeah, I had jeans.
None of the stuff? None of the equipment?
Nah, no, nothing, man.
That's a big man acting. It's like somebody that doesn't wear their seatbelt in their car. They think they're fucking tough.
Nice.
Fucking crazy.
Yeah, it's stupid, man. I was in jeans as well. Yeah. Like, just, I never wore the stuff. Like, I never considered crashing, do you know? Like, you don't think like that. So
was the coppers chasing you when you crashed?
Yeah, they put their blue lights on.
They didn't hit you or anything, did they?
Nah, they couldn't keep up. and
What's it, a bike?
yeah, it was an R6.
So rapid then.
Yeah, and I got, as they come behind me, put the blue lights, I dropped the gear, shot off, and they weren't nowhere near to be seen. But it's as I come into the bend too fast, it started going like this. And then I just remember looking up in the ditch and seeing him, like, yeah, him saying, don't go, don't run. And all this water, it was a stream and it's going over me. And I'm like thinking it's blood, but I'm still trying to get up and run. But my arm weren't coming and it was just,
So you just become a recluse then?
for 2 years.
Because all the things that you mentioned about the you already had that before the crash anyway.
Yeah, I did.
So I'd imagine that just enhanced it where you thought, why me?
Oh, mate, I just wallowed in self-pity. I lived, they put me straight into a place in where my cousin used to live, actually, my auntie's son, and it's in Turnford and Cheshunt, and it was, I just didn't come out. My friends would knock on the door and I'd pretend I weren't in. I'd ignore them because I didn't talk to no one. I sat there for 2 years and like have very often have people come around. I didn't want to come out. I didn't feel comfortable how I was. I had this prosthetic arm that I wore anytime I'd wear it. And then I did start coming out, and it would either be to get high and get drunk and then go back to sleep. Like it was that cycle of numb the pain, sleep, numb the pain, sleep. And that's all it was. I didn't do nothing for like them times. Like it was just, yeah, horrible, horrible time. Like feeling sorry for myself. Obviously I was clinically depressed, they said. I had PTSD. I'm grieving obviously the loss of my arm, but I'm doing nothing to actually work on making myself feel better. I'm just wallowing in negative emotions and feeling sorry for myself, and everything's just getting worse because the way I was looking at the situation.
How was it like, using the left hand again, drinking pints and...
Brother, it was horrible. Like I just felt, obviously when it happens, you kind of, your body's amazing. It adapts quite quickly to the situation it's in. But I just never felt like, obviously I felt like something was missing. Like I didn't feel like myself. I felt low confidence. I see like difference in people, like people that are, not trying to lower anyone, but people that wouldn't say nothing before and now are like piping up. Like now there's an opportunity to get me back for being a cunt before, and it's like, you cheeky fucks, you know, like, and that would be the thing that got to me. Like people would just show no, nah, you're not no threat, you're no one bothered. You know, like
you can understand that if you're robbing drug dealers, listen, karma's a bastard.
100%.
Whether you've got one arm, no legs, whatever the fuck,
Nah.
blind, if you've give somebody pain and abused them and beat them, I'd be thinking the same, one arm or not, I'm getting that cunt.
Yeah, and I used to get messages like off of fake accounts, even while I was in hospital, like, glad you lost your arm and da 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 da.
Yeah, it's ruthless.
And I'm like, yeah, I suppose that's someone that like, I've upset, but them ones, you don't forget them. Yeah, cool, so I understand that, but that's when it, for me, is when I did start coming out and getting back into that life and trying to become that person I was, because I was searching to be back who I was, even though who I was before was not a person to be, if that makes sense. So I started getting back involved in the same shit, like robbing dealers, and we're running up the road after robbing. We held this guy in his house and made him order the drugs because he had to tell the person he's got the money there. The drugs come, we take them off him. We're running up the road and I'm running, my prosthetic arm's falling off because it's fucking, because when you run and get sweaty, it would come off. And it was just like, what are you doing? Like when I look back now, it's like, what was we doing? I was trying to validate myself to be that person. And it was like, everything I was doing was just to get high and forget about it. I even went for a stage of gambling, anything that gave me that dopamine hit that made me forget about the situation I was in, I was chasing. Anything negative, shall we say. Like, and yeah, then I started getting back into dealing and that whole lifestyle. So now I'm believing that I have to have a knife because I'm extremely vulnerable and I know that people are gonna fist to fist gonna beat me.
Yeah, become a target, yeah.
Yeah,
become a target,
of
man.
course.
Especially with the shit you're doing. Anybody that's involved in a life of crime, they don't forget there's a ruthlessness there where, like I say, one arm, one leg, whatever the fuck it is.
Dog eat dog.
You've done me, you can't, I'm going to as payback. And people would be glad to do it with a smile on their face. So see when you're doing turns and stuff, even though you're kind of incriminating yourself because of the fucking one arm, it's easy to spot. Like, the method of thinking and that is deluded to think you're
100%.
going to get away with anything, arm falling off, because you see these security guards, maybe let's say they're guarding the king or the queen or whatever it is. They'll have the prosthetic arm so they can keep their arm in their jacket. And they've always got the hand in the gun, but they've also got the fucking dummy hand. They know, but you can spot it a mile away.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So if what was the arm like when you were doing turns?
It would just stay in there. It would just stay there. It would just
They have everything, the fingers and
yeah, but it just hangs. It doesn't do nothing. It's just not functional. It's just to mask my insecurities. And it's funny you say that because when the riots was going on, my friends were getting active in it, and I'm like, I'm coming. And they're like, you're not coming. It was in the van, and they're like, you're going home. You'll get us all back. Like, and I was like, no. And at the time, I was like, I want to come. They're like, you stupid. Like, we're all your known associates. You ain't coming. Go home. We're dropping you home. You ain't getting us caught because of your situation. And when I think about it, like, yeah, they was moving smarter than I was at that time because I wanted to go. Like, what are you doing? Like, crazy.
So when did you end up getting a 10 then? Because was, again, the shit that you put your mum through, the stuff that she's already been through, and then losing your arm, being in prisons, and then she's probably thinking, oh, maybe it'll calm down, but it seems you got worse.
Yeah, I definitely got worse. I was doing stupid things like I said, I was carrying a weapon and I would use it if I had to, and I had done a few times. But then this guy was working for me, and I'd never sold nothing big because I knew I'd be a target with big bits. So it was just a good ticket line at the time. And he was running it for me, and he basically took something that wasn't his. I was high when I found out, ended up doing the most stupid thing. I got nicked for a false imprisonment, Section 20 and blackmail. So basically I demanded the money that he took off him with menace, and he got stabbed in his lower back. And yeah, I got a 10.5 EDS for that.
What's EDS?
So it's an extended determinate sentence, and they have to do a Dangerous Man Act assessment. So you get assessed by a probation whether you're suitable for it. And the crime I did before, normally you have to have a continuous pattern of that, but the judge wanted to get me. And he said, because I've escalated from an affray, which is fuck all, to this, he deems me dangerous because of the arm, I'm not learning, and that emotional turmoil, whatever, he wrapped it up in that. Because of my arm, I'm actually escalating in crimes, and he gave me an EDS sentence. And yeah, that he said that you'll serve 5 years, 3 months out of it. I went back to the prison, they're saying, no, you got to serve 7 years. And at that time, it was like, fuck it, like all them same issues I had. And I was having troubles in prison, behaving, had a bit of conflict. I was in the block on a good order, and I'm sitting in the block, and I'm like, you got all these same ongoing issues. You still feel this trauma, this pain, but now you're just fucking birded for 5 years. It's like 7 years they're saying, but 5, the judge said. And nothing's changed. Like, nothing's changed because you've just been wrapped up in your emotions. I'm sitting there, and yeah, it was fucked. I was like so depressed, so feeling sorry for myself still.
Yeah, it's mad, innit? We all feel sorry for ourselves and everybody's to blame. But when you're in there, when you're in prison, you'll see people with no legs, in wheelchairs, little man, like a dwarf as well.
Yeah.
It's mad to see, but you'll tend to see a lot of these ones are more up for it than most because they feel as if they've got something to prove to make themselves one of the boys or one of the lads. Did you feel that as soon as you were in there? Or did you think, fuck it, I need to change? Or was it at that stage you just wanted to keep doing what you were doing?
Yeah, at first I didn't change. Like I say, I was getting in trouble. And yeah, I suppose you do have that, like, because I'm still very defensive at that time, very argumentative, like very wrapped up in my emotions. So it's hard to get along with me. So I'm causing myself conflict just by the way I carried myself. And yeah, I suppose you feel like you got something to prove, but in the end, it's just like prison can humble you quickly, man, because you're not equipped for that, Chris. I learned pretty quickly, like, that what you think you're doing without a weapon or in prison where it can go off in an instant, you're not equipped for this. And that really that awareness come probably when I got to Loudon Grange, and it's like a long-term BCAT, and people there don't play. If it goes off, it's serious, And yeah, I started to change my ways a bit then and just understand that you don't have to act this way or have this bravado. So yeah, it was.
Do you get any special treatments by having one arm, or is it just the same as everybody else? Are you on a low floor or anything? How does it work?
So yeah, I could get a lower floor and I could manipulate the rules a bit more to get a bit more freedom. So if this like bang up, I would say, I need this done. I need this person to help me do this. You need to open my door, let him do this writing. And do you know, I could, depending on the prison, I could pretty much have it nice. Like Peterborough, have it nice. Certain prisons, they don't care. They're like, fuck it. Like, that's your problem. Like, get over it. And you have to like go through the procedure to get it. But not really. Like, you don't really get it in every prison. There's not support or help or special things in every single prison. That's not, but some you can get extra things like your door open a bit more, help if you need it. But yeah, not in every prison.
Did you get tested much?
Not really, do you know? Because I think probably people just, and when I look back at it, probably just allowed me more than anything. Because I was cheeky and I'm very defensive. I was at them times, but I was good at FIFA, table tennis, and pool. And people was like, would have banter about that, and I got on with like the people that really run the wing. So in a way, I was kind of cool for that. Like, not. I had a few incidences, yeah, but nothing that, like, yeah, nothing major.
How the fuck did you end up good at pool?
Practice, I suppose.
Just how do you keep it? I can fucking barely keep it straight with two hands.
I use the triangle, so if it's in the middle of the table, I put it on the triangle and do it like that and just practice. And yeah, I use, and FIFA the same. I just had to practice, and I was beating people in there and that.
So how do you do FIFA and that with one hand?
So we're talking Xbox 360s in prison.
Yeah,
we're going way back, and I'd put my palm on the ball, and then I'll do the fingers with this. But yeah, and I had to play people, and majority people will know that I'm quite good, and it was just fun. They like, yeah.
See, when you start doing that stuff, badminton, pool, FIFA, and winning, does that then start giving you confidence and realise, wait a minute, I've got one arm, but it's not the fucking end of the world? Did you start growing in confidence that you could still do things, or were you doing that stuff before you went to prison?
Yeah, I was doing it a bit before, but do you know, like, I was so competitive. I noticed this about me. I was so competitive. If I lost, I would get so defensive, argumentative, and I started to like, I was putting like my validation on the win, and that was my self-worth, like winning or win. It become like something where I would be so overly proud of winning. And if I lost it, I would feel bad, and it would bring up these emotions, and it made me go like negative. And so I had to work on that, and I started understanding that, like, you stop putting your self-worth on a fucking game, do you know? Like, so at first it didn't give me confidence, only if I won. And it's false confidence because I'm putting the validation on it. So it was never really stable confidence like I feel now. It was just if I won confidence, you know? So, and yeah, so not really, it was superficial.
How many different prisons were you in?
I started in Bedford. I got chucked out. They put not for return.
Why?
Because that's my local. All my friends are there, and in Bedford you can if you're, I don't know about now, but if you're on C or A, you can ping over the wall, and there were suspicions we was getting parcels and all this. They put us in a good order, shipped me to Peterborough and my friend to Leicester. And then they didn't let me come back. But I'd been there before a few times because I'd been on remand in Bedford, and we didn't get on. Like, I think it's because I got a lot of friends in that jail at the time. So then they shipped me to Peterborough. Peterborough is like a stroll in the park, man. I've never been to a prison like it. You can tell them what to do. They ain't really got a clue. You can go in and write your own movement slip and go off the wing, go to reception, tell them that you want your pass. Like, they had no authority in there. I don't know about now, but we're talking 2015, 16. They didn't have no authority in the prison because it's all people just coming from McDonald's and working in there. Like, it was like young officers.
Idiots.
Have no clue, man, and they ain't got a clue. But then I went Loudon. I've been Nottingham briefly, Pentonville, Scrubs, Bullingdon, Wayland.
Why so many?
The Mount. That's not all on one sentence because I've had a few other times I've been to prison as well. Like, after I got 15 months. After, yeah, but they just ship you about when you're messing about.
What'd you get 15 months for?
The most stupidest thing. I'm on the train and I'm with one of my friends, and the transport police are coming up the train for us, and we're moving the other way. And he pulled the door, made the train stop, and we jumped off to get off because we've got stuff on us. And they gave me 15 months in prison for pulling the door and jumping off the train.
Many sentences you done?
I've had a lot of remands. Like I was on remand for a knife point robbery after a festival that I didn't even do the crime. Like I've had probably about 6, 7 remands, and not all of them have come to cases. Sometimes you get released after it. Sometimes you get a case charged for it. And then I've had probably about 4 or 5 times, and then the big one. But yeah, like I said, I was on a remand for a knife point robbery at a festival. Guy sold me a ticket. I bought it off him. Someone else comes in, said they want 2 tickets. He's only got 1 left. He said to me, let me get that back because the guy's offering him more. I'm like, you daft, like fuck off. And I had the prosthetic on at that time. He's like, no, give me the ticket. I was like, no. He went to the police. They didn't really listen to him. And then I just walked off, weren't really paying much attention. They come and arrested me for a knife point robbery. He's gone and told them that I robbed him at knife point. When I've gone to trial for this, yeah, because they remanded me straight away, gone to trial for it, my barrister said, okay, how did he take the ticket off you and hold the knife? Like, which hand did he take the ticket if he's got the knife? And he said, with his other hand. And instantly the judge directed the jury saying, look, Chris couldn't have done that. He's got 1 arm. He had 1 arm at the time.
Do you not know that?
He must have not known because I had the prosthetic on. I don't know, but he ended up again not guilty, but I've done 6 months remand for it. So
how much pressure was on you once you lost the arm and doing all the other shit? But did you feel more pressure in your life to then try and keep doing all the daft shit?
Yeah, I felt like
it's deluded thinking though, innit? It's crazy, man.
100%, James. Like when I look back at it now, it's like, what was I thinking? It's like I was searching to become the person I was before to make myself feel better for the loss, but the person I was not a person to search for. So what I was going for was never going to be a positive outcome, but it was like I was looking for that to feel how I felt before. But how I felt before was acting in a way that it was destructive.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I felt pressure. I was struggling mentally. I didn't feel good. I was going to the doctors. They just giving me tablets. Yeah, it was just. And while I was on that sentence, like for the majority of the beginning, the first 2 years, 18 months, I didn't feel good at all.
How many people with disabilities and stuff are in prison when you were there?
I've seen a few. I've seen like a couple guys in wheelchairs. I met another guy with 1 arm. But like physical disabilities, I've seen a couple with legs missing. But yeah, not like serious crimes. I don't think any of them had a EDS, but one of them got 16 years in a wheelchair for guns, so that's a serious crime. And one got a 10 for food in a wheelchair, paralysed. So yeah, I've seen a couple of people like that.
How do you handle the word disabilities? Do you use that or do you try and not use it? Because it's a horrible word, that, innit?
100%. I used to, I didn't class myself as disabled, but now, yeah, I do. I embrace it. Like it's no pun intended, but it's a hand I've been dealt, and I am disabled, and I have to be confident in who I am now today, and that's part of it, I suppose. That's part of the journey that I'm on.
Yeah. What about like running and stuff? Because obviously you see people in like the Paralympics and they're fucking smash it. They're strong, they're powerful, and it goes to show what can be done with the mind as well. That I'd imagine they felt like quitting at the start. I'd imagine everybody would if they lost a limb, but when you see them and the effort they put in and the work rate, the running and the exercise, gymnastics, whatever it is in that field, for not to give up and keep going, it's some strength. It must be some strength. Like, do you ever look to these people as well and think, fuck me, like, life's not quite over, but even though when you think it was at the start, or did you not even look for inspiration from no cunt?
Not. It took me a while before I started like changing. At first, no, I didn't look for these inspirations. I got mentors that helped me in that journey, I would say, and that I started writing my life down in a autobiography. Yeah, like I wrote everything down, and that gave me some like clarity. Like I started to understand what I've been through and how I'm letting this hurt come out in other ways. And so while I'm in the sentence, I'm doing that. Then I started like kind of, right, cool. I've had my sentence reduced from 10.5 years now to 8.5. So I'm thinking now I need to start progressing. And I met this guy and he said to me, let me see your OASIS, which is basically your risk assessment score in prison. And he's like, oh my God, your score's ridiculous. You need to do the courses. And if you want to get DCAT and go home, you could be in DCAT within a year. So then I started like playing the game, I suppose, as they call it. And trying to progress, done all that with the courses. And they didn't really help in the sense of like making me change, but it started me thinking about emotions, because I'd never even considered what emotions were. I didn't really I was totally naive, knew nothing about it. So I started working, and the writing helped. Then I eventually did get to a DCAT, and that's where I met some guy that probably changed the trajectory of my life, because he was an educated guy. Told him about my story, he read it, and then he was probably the first man in my life and that I admired and was inspired by. And he helped me to change the way I see things, because when I would talk to him, I would think, how I'm thinking is just so thick. Like, he would make me, do you know when you're talking to someone that's clever, you're like, I didn't even think like that. And it just like started making me see, and he was very good at making me see things differently. And from then, that's when I started looking at more in depth of why I do this, how what I've been through is impacting the way I show up in the world, and started really reading, because I was like to him, I want to publish a book. He's like, well, do you read? I was like, no. He's like, well, no author's ever not read. And I started reading about like adverse childhood experiences and how they impact brain development, and how they help, you're more likely to not be able to regulate emotions, or you're going to get more likely to engage in risk-taking behaviors. And this is resonating with me. I'm like, oh, okay. And then you're a lot more likely to engage in poor coping mechanisms. And then I'm looking at the impacts of how you can overcome this. And it's like fitness, nutrition, positive mentors, and like a purpose and things like that. And then I just started working, because I was fat at this time. I was like 17 stone with one arm, big belly, and just, so I started working on myself and losing weight and doing fitness. And doing fitness for me was, honestly, that single-handedly took me out of depression. And like, gone from fat, yeah, I used to think that the weight had nothing to do with it, or not being active had nothing to do with it. It single-handedly took me from someone on depression tablets to not. I lost 5 stone. I continually working, doing exercises, even though I fucking despised it at first. That gave me some like discipline that I've never probably had in my life, like doing things that I hated doing. And from then on, it was all about progressing mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, and that continues. And like becoming more self-aware of how these traumas, these triggers impact you. Because I've read a great book, The Body Keeps the Score, and he talks about how hurt people. And it's like, I couldn't stop hurting people to understand how that was hurting me. And that's where like the aha moment was. It was like, okay, now let's turn this into something. And he helped me, that guy helped me all the way. And I met Andrew in at the same time, who you know, introduced me to. Yeah,
shout out Andrew Pritchard.
Yeah, and he was helping me, because I'd be in he'd be writing, he'd written Urban Smuggler, and I'd be in it was a computer room, and he'd be in there doing his work every day after work. And I'd be in there every day doing my book, taking it from, because I had to write it with my left hand, which was like torture, because it was like kids writing. So then I had to take the writing that I'd written and type it up onto a computer with one hand. And that was like this. But I'd done it, and he was there every day, and he seen me working, and that we become friends. And he was friends with the guy that changed my life, Sam, and helped me to see things differently. And then, yeah, now it's just been a continuous thing. And the thing about this adverse childhood experience is like 80% of people in prison have suffered it, one or more, but yet no one's doing nothing in prison about it. Like, and you can go into prison today and it's like they don't even ask you about it. But yeah, if you've got a substance problem, they'll make you do an awareness course, but they're chopping at the leaves, and then you're coming out of the stress-free prison, like I say to you, and going back into an environment that to become successful or do anything worthy is stressful. And then them stressors, you straight away back on the substances, in that cycle of crime, prison, and nothing changes. Like, I feel like that's why I want to share my story, because people need to be able to work on and become more self-aware of how the shit we go through at a young age is impacting how we're showing up in the world. And if we can do that, we can reduce crime. But then, do they really want to? Because there's a whole nother concept of adverse childhood experiences that impact or make you more likely to have cancer, Alzheimer's, heart disease, diabetes. And this is all factual. You can search it on the internet. And it's like, do you really want to put a dent in that? Because
prison system's money, bro. It's 40, 50 grand a year per inmate, and it's a money system, it's slavery, and they don't want change. Like 80% or over 70% of the people who are in prison reoffend and end up back in prison. It's a system, it's flawed, it's a system, it's not working, it's a system where they're happy to feed you fucking, what's the green stuff you used to drink, what's the fucking, for people with heroin addicts, methadone. Do you know what I mean? They're happy feeding methadone and all the tablets and come out zombied up, and then because life is tough without any childhood trauma. How was it working within? How was it looking at who you were and why you acted the way you were? Because that is a painful journey in itself.
It's a journey I'm still on. To understand it and look at it and then understand how it's impacting you, then I was in a position where I could consciously start working on it. Because before, I didn't even know. I was like a zombie that was reacting to something so trivial in the moment, not knowing that that's bringing up something that is triggered from before. So I'd perceive that this, I don't know, disagreement as something, but it's really bringing up these emotions that I wasn't even aware that the root cause. So understanding that gave me the strength to not live my emotional life on the weaknesses of others. And then I was in control. So it was like hard, and it is hard to look at things and take accountability and work on it and go through it. But that's the only way to change the reactive and aggressive way that I was, in my opinion, how I was, is to understand it. And you have to go through it and look at everything and work out why that's showing up and how you can work on changing that from showing up. You know, it's not easy. It's probably the hardest thing to do, like to actually say, well, I'm in control of this. This is my destiny. I have to address this. Yes, I've had things happen that wasn't my fault, but when you're consciously aware of that and you continue to do it, then the issue, it becomes your problem. It is your problem. You need to address that yourself, work through it. And that's where the support should be in prisons. Like, it isn't there like that.
It's mad childhood trauma as well, because people don't really, some people die with their childhood trauma. Some people never speak about it. And some people, when you do speak about it, it's not until your 20s, your 30s, your 40s where damage has already been done. Like, if a kid's going through trauma, they don't really know it's trauma until they're older. And that's the thing, that even as much as fucking domestic abuse in a household, how much that scars you and fucks yourself up with relationships and addictions and everything that's connected to it. And it's sad because the majority of households have got that anger issues, and it's not people are bad, it's just the pressure of life is already known, seen their fathers doing it and their mums and dads and grandparents, and it just passes down. But if we don't heal the pain now, that affects our kids.
Generational.
It's our kids who need to fight the pain and try and break the curse. And if we don't come face to face with whatever shit we're dealing with, we just pass it down, and then we leave it on their kids and then their kids, and then it's just generational. So it's important to face your fears head on now. If not, you're passing it down to your future, and that's why I think this whole fucking generation is fucked in the head.
I think a lot of shame is a problem, because it's like you've had that and then shame's attached, and you don't want to open up because it's like visceral. You feel like you either deny it or you don't want to talk about it because it's painful and it's hurtful, and that's, like you say, it's a problem. And I feel like if we don't start talking about it or dealing with it and working for it, then you're just going to live that cycle of in and out, thinking that these beliefs are all right and justifying it for some misguided opinion that you have of why you're doing it. And it's just, like, I don't think people are really doing all this stuff they do for postcodes because that's what they stand for. I think that comes from somewhere, surely. Like, do you know what I mean?
Somewhere more deeper than
there's
that.
100%, there must be more to it. Like, and you have to just work through that, and it's the painful, but it takes courage. And the other side of it is just, I think for me, it's been joy and deeper relationships and like better living and stress-free, do you know? Like, and as hard as it is, it's just something you've got to do, especially within the prison system.
When was the light bulb moment? Because when we go through changes, it takes not a lot of information, but it takes a moment. You go, fuck me, like all the misery and pain that I've caused. There's a moment where you realise, oh, what was I thinking? What was I doing? Was there a moment for you when you realised, what the fuck was I playing at?
It wasn't just one thing. I think it was like all of these things pulling in one thing, but like, it wasn't like a aha moment. It was like once I understood what I'd been through, then I was in a position to actually start
questioning it.
Yeah, and start consciously making better decisions, because I've actually now got the awareness. And unless people get that, I don't think that you can make that decision, because sometimes you're just reacting without even knowing what it's coming from. That's how I was. And then once I understood it, that's when it was like, all right, now you've got to take action, or you can't blame no one. Now you know what you need to work on and go through it. And yeah, it wasn't a singular thing, but fitness played a part. The mentors, like Andrew and Sam, like people guiding me, supporting me, showing me that you can do this. Do you know, like it was fitness. There's so many. I got into meditation. Like these things all helped at their own time.
The natural things.
Yeah.
Ain't it mad, the natural things in life that we don't use enough, the things that make us feel good, but yet we'll self-harm, we'll eat junk food, drink, drugs, gambling, violence, all the negative traits, because it must do something internally to your wiring in the body. It scars you. I've spoken to enough people to understand how humans operate and what makes them operate and how they become who they are, but it's just fucking sad because there's so much great remedies out there to then, because even overweight and that, when my weight goes up and down, when my weight goes up, there's something not quite right when you're eating the emotions and not really speaking about it. And I notice that, and it's not to put anybody down that's overweight, but people who are overweight are struggling in life. It's a depression in my eyes. You're eating something to take away the pain what's happening internal. And you say when you start exercising and start looking after yourself, you can tell when somebody's in a good place by their appearance in a way. And it's not, like I say, shoot anybody down, but you can. They're just a different energy and a different vibe where they go, where they truly love themselves because they're looking after themselves more than the average person. And like I say, just sit and vegetate and eat away at life, which I do sometimes, because you think, fuck this, it's easier, it's comfortable, but it's just the way it makes you feel. There's no better feeling in exercising or cold water therapy or try to raise the bar and try to better yourself, but the majority of people don't, because it's hard, it's painful. Try to work on yourself and progress and look after yourself when it's just easy to go and eat shit.
Well, we're living in a super processed world, aren't we? Like everything's just marketed at you. It's hard to not, and to eat well, it's hard, isn't it? And then to be disciplined in such a load of easy options, like you say, and they're comforting. There's something they do. I think they have like neuroscientists working to make it taste a way, to make you feel a type of way. So it's hard to be disciplined and eat healthy, yeah. But there are benefits, and what comes with it is so beneficial in my, because being from someone that was overweight to being where I am now, yeah, it's so beneficial, man.
Because
mentally.
even the foods in the shop, it's like Las Vegas, it's all just all the bright colours, but foods in the shop and supermarkets and petrol stations, they aren't food, it's cravings. There's a difference between eating food and craving food. Do you know what I mean? Sometimes when you go up a bit of chocolate, it's not really food, it's just the craving of the sugar, of the taste buds, what it does to the reward system in the brain.
Yeah.
But if you actually ask yourself, would you eat a bit of fucking asparagus or carrots? And if you didn't want it, because if you're hungry, you would eat anything. Anything, no matter if it's fucking salads or whatever it is. But it's the cravings, it's the sitting, the boredom, to then I'll go and get a pack of crisps. What I do nearly every, just something kicks in where I'll feel as if I'll reward myself.
Yeah.
Something doesn't quite feel right, so I'll reward myself with the junk food to reward myself just for a split seconds.
Yeah.
And it's sad, man, because the majority of people feel like that. And like I say, it's not to put anybody down that's overweight or underweight or whatever it is, but there's keys and tools and techniques to feel better, think better, act better. But it's difficult because everything's glamorous out there. You get into supermarkets and the aisles are just, we don't even read what's actually in it, including myself. Sometimes I'll be on it and I'll go, nah, fuck that, and I'll eat amazing for 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Then something slips, the craving takes over again, and it's, like I say, there's just so much out there. See, when you started losing the weight and training hard, was that when you thought, okay, that the confidence started coming back and you started believing in yourself that life's not quite over and I don't need to be that person that I was?
Yeah, for sure. Like once I started training, I was reading, meditating, and that was in prison. And then I started working at a charity and I was going out every day and I'm around positive people. So I'd only stay in the prison at the weekends, and then you go on a home leave because it's an open prison. So I was around all these people at charities. They're all like kind. And at first I felt like, what's going on? I was like, felt uncomfortable because they were all being so nice. I even said to them, I don't feel, because I'm not used to this. When people are like that in prison, there's an ulterior motive. And it was like being around them people, hearing what Sam was saying and Andrew, and fitness and having that discipline and eating well, and then believing like, right, I didn't know how, but I knew I wanted to use my experiences, what I've been through, to help someone that may be going through what I've been through, like the trauma, and using it in a negative way. And it's not an excuse, because people have been through worse and never done anything bad. But when you're living in deprived areas and you're getting commended for your bad behavior, then it's kind of like you kind of idolize it. So I wanted to help people, but I wasn't sure how exactly, but I knew that I was going to. And yeah, I wanted to do public speaking. I wrote a book. So I just wanted to just make a difference, and that all them things happened at once, and it was just a...
What's the book called for people who might be interested in
I
reading it?
haven't published it yet. It needs a structure edit because I'm not a writer, but that will be coming next year. I've written two, actually. I wrote a practical guide as well of like what we just talked about, how I overcome this offending behavior that was, in my opinion, driven by the trauma that I've been through, and just step by step what I did. Might not work for everyone, but it's just how I had done it. And with it, that will probably be out before the autobiography. But that's going to be next year looking at, because I need a structure edit on it. I would love to make it into a course or something, like an ACE awareness course, an adverse childhood experiences course in prisons that just gives them the understanding of how it affects your brain development, emotional regulation, increasing risk-taking behaviours and like substance misuse, and then how you can overcome it. And then giving people that curiosity to say, all right, do I want to do the graft myself, or am I going to continue to blame people? Because then people that are sitting in a position of blame probably ain't going to change at that moment. So I would love to, and that's the goal, to eventually do something. But I'm going into prisons next year doing talks. So things are happening, but it's like slowly.
You're already doing it, brother. Think of where you've came from.
100%.
Because you know yourself, it's the environment, it's the circle we keep. So when you came out, were you already on that path of 100% starting to know who you wanted to be, or were you thinking about getting active again?
No, I never had I never had any idea of getting active, yeah? So I come out and I was trying to, like, do positive. I end up on a tracker for 6 months. I get released. After the tracker comes off, I get arrested for a crime, yeah? I was at a party, I dropped this guy back, whatever. I got arrested for a kidnap with a firearm, yeah? Now, I didn't do this, yeah? They didn't charge me, but they rang my probation up and told him, oh, we got him on this charge. Then they end up NFA-ing it. So no, I never got charged, never went to court, but I got recall for that. So I've done a year on recall after being out for 7 months. And I was like, right, I need to, and that's when I got a recall, ended up getting a parole, and they released me instantly because there were no charges. I shouldn't have been in. And there's so many people in prison now that are getting recalled without any charges because the police tell the probation that they think they're doing something and they're in prison. And the police get up to 2 years to investigate that. So if you've got a long license, they can take 2 years if they want, and you're in prison.
My pal done a 5 or a 6 recall because his bud phoned the cops and said he had a gun.
Yeah,
Never.
But now, did you not see the news the other day? They're saying that they're not going to put rapists or burglars in prison, but you've got people on recalls for phone calls. Like,
Association.
How about letting them out before you start? Like, do you know what I mean? The system is just crazy. But so I come out then and I was like more focused. I was like, fuck that. I'm not fucking with anyone that can cause me that. And if I do it, it's going to be in a controlled environment where I can back up so I can't get recalled for a phone call, you know? And that's where I've been working with Andrew, working with other people, mentors that I've got to just get out there. I want to do more public speaking. I want to do maybe some corporates on resilience, overcoming adversity, but more I want to get into prisons and help people like me or schools, talk about maybe drink driving, just to get this message out and maybe change some narratives and be proactive in society instead of just criticising and complaining, actually contributing for once. And
yeah. What about the circle you kept before you went in? Because you know yourself, you need to distance yourself from everyone.
I don't know no one from before. I know them, but I don't talk to no one from before. And it's that happened naturally because they showed when you're in prison, you see who people are. Especially when you're doing 5 years, people weren't there. So if you're showing up when I'm getting out, I don't care because no one comes to see me. And I probably wouldn't have. I was in a bad place, but yeah, I'd never kept no friends from before.
What's your mum say to it all now?
When I think about the shit I put her through, it makes me upset. Now she's so proud of me, and which that makes me happy. But it's been a journey. I've put her through so much shit, and when I look at it, like the stress I've caused her, it's just like I can't do nothing. But yeah, now she's happy. Like for the first time, we have probably the strongest relationship we've had, and that's not because it's because I'm in a position to offer that. You know, it's always been there, but I've not ever,
Seen it.
or been the man that I needed to be to have that relationship. And that's the one thing about embracing your vulnerabilities and looking at all your weaknesses and coming more self-aware with your traumas. You actually build better, deeper, meaningful relationships with people because you're in a position to. And my family and me are getting on better than I ever have. And that is probably one of my proudest things, actually, so far.
That is the most important thing.
100%.
Same as myself as a father and that, and passing the kids around when you get them just for other people to watch them, and you're out fucking getting high and hiding and pretending and being weak and soft and vulnerable to fucking life because you can't handle it. You blame everybody else. But when the changes happen, that's the hardest thing for me, and I always say it, is when you start making changes, it's the pain that you done beforehand is to accept that. And sometimes when you're in a good mood, you'll think about, fuck me, or the pain and misery I caused. My dad was dying with leukemia, and I had armed response through the door, and had 3 months to live, and I'm out fucking high as fuck partying, and you just think, fuck me, like, how deluded and sad is your life to not be a man and protect your family and be there for your family and make sure they're safe. And I made everything unsafe because I was a fucking loose cannon. And that's the thing, when you make change, like you say, the proudest thing, no matter if we get books out or having a podcast or whatever it is, the most proudest moment is your mum going to sleep at night knowing that our baby's fucking on the right path. No the sleepless nights or the phone calls at 5 in the morning, because the only time we get phone calls at 5 in the morning, it was 2 reasons. It was somebody was out partying, or the coppers were at your door. Do you know what I mean? And or somebody'd been fucking shot, man. Or, do you know, it's like the constant worry of not knowing when your son's out for 3-4 days, or the son's in prison with one fucking arm, and how, do you know what I mean? Because mothers, as men are on this planet to provide and protect, but also mothers are protectors. They protect their babies, and then when you destroy that, and it fucks them up, because they must struggle with PTSD. They must struggle and have sleepless nights thinking, fuck me, the shit that I've been through. But as a woman, they just soldier on.
Yeah.
We're like the women. We're the ones always fucking complaining. And
100%.
this is what I always say. Women, I believe, are stronger than men. Men build the world, yes, but with the women and how they give birth and how they create life and what they put into trying to keep a roof over their kids' heads and stuff, it's unbelievable what they do. Men and women, they have both roles, and we need each other. There's a lot of talk now, everybody arguing and fighting about men this and women this, and both need each other. But for me, women are the centre of the earth. Women are the ones who keep the world going. Men build it, but women are the strong ones. If a woman can give a birth for 9 months and do what she does to keep that kid healthy with the breastfeeding and energy that she gives to keep kids there. Listen, we need father figures. We need that masculine energy, 1,000,000%. But women have got it sussed out more than men, I believe. Is your mum, what was it like when she said she's proud of you?
Yeah, it was a good moment, because I hadn't given her many opportunities to say that before, and now she says it quite often. So it's like, yeah, it's such a good feeling, and to actually acknowledge it before, I didn't even think, man. So when I look, like you say, when you look back and you think what you've done, it's so selfish, so self-centered, and yeah, I can only now just try to make it a better future for her, like I will. So yeah. It was lovely to hear her say it.
So what's the most important thing that you've learned for people who do watch? And listen, like I always fucking repeat this, but the majority of people do struggle in life, and a lot of people are just happy going through their life, working hard. Like, there's so many amazing people out there who just provide and try and do the right things for their family, get up at 5 in the morning, go to work, come home at night, have their dinner, go to bed, and then repeat that same cycle. But I know a lot of people are in robotic mode where they don't really know in depth how much childhood trauma affects them. But what's the most important thing that you've learned going through your own journey?
It's to just work through your shit. Like, go back, look at your life events, your most critical moments, the most things that are vivid in your mind, and then assess how these, especially obviously the negative things, and then just understand how that's coming out, how it's affecting you, because it must be, if like, especially if you're in and out of prison, how is it showing up? How can you address it? Nowadays, you don't need to be intellectual. You can just go on ChatGPT and ask it what the best leading professor in childhood trauma would say, and get the information. So you could have her as your therapist if you really wanted to. So you can work through this stuff, but you just need to take that journey of addressing what's happened, how it's showing up. Is it giving me negative beliefs? Am I am I in control of things? You know, like get control of your just become more self-aware about what's happened in your life and how it's impacting the way you show up. Yeah.
It's mad, though, isn't it?
It's such a hard journey, James, to acknowledge that you are at fault for everything that's going on and stop it and change it and stop being reactive or acting how you feel. It's just like, it's hard to accept that. But once I did, the narrative changed and I was in control. I no longer was living my life on the weaknesses of others, my emotional life anyway. So I had to go through that and just understand it. And writing it down for me was the massive, like, okay, now you get clarity from that.
How's life now?
Yeah, it's good, man. Honestly, I live in Stevenage. I love it. It's just, I don't know no one really. I see a few people in the gym. I'm just out here trying to slowly build. I've got a few speaking events coming up. I work with a charity. I'm going into prisons in January. I want to get more speaking, sharing this message. I'm going to publish these books next year. And I'm just trying to slowly make a positive impact in society. And things are really, really good for me, like emotionally, physically, mentally, and spiritually. I've worked on every bit and I feel so much better for it. Like, obviously we have days where you're down, but it's not like depression. It's just, you don't feel great today, get on with it, you know, like, and things are just good. Like,
How's that in the gym and stuff? Because people are nosy. People are always going to look. We try and look, but even when you're trying to look, you always get caught. So you must see eyes on you all the time. Do you know what I mean? It's not that people are being bad. We're just darn nosy. Like, how do you deal with that? That people looking, are you at peace with it now, or do you still kind of get?
It used to be such a problem. Like, I used to be so defensive. What are you looking at? But now I get it. You just are curious. You just want to understand how that impacts your life because it's not normal to you. So I get it. In the gym, people always ask me, because I've got this thing that clips on and I do my chest as much as I can with the cable on that side, and obviously it's never going to be the same as...
Where did they get cut from?
It's an above elbow amputation. So
it's not full whack then? It's not...
It's just here. Like, I've got just...
So you still get movement?
Yeah, I've got some. Like, I can do a bit of chest here. Yeah, it's people look and they're always going to look, and I don't wear a prosthetic arm no more because for me it was like, why am I trying to mask and have something that has no like benefits? It's just there for aesthetics. Why am I doing that to make other people not think that that's not me no more? Like, embrace that shit. And so I don't wear it, and that obviously invites people to look even more. But I do it with chest.
But so you can still work that part of the left side with a wee bit of chest. Like, obviously sometimes if you're only using your right hand, same biceps, only this muscle's going to go. But can you still find the balance then with?
It's hard. I've got a little bit. It will never be like that. But I do cables as much as I can and get as much movement as I can just to get these muscles because they were deteriorated. So I just try to build them up. I do a bit of like shrugs with the thing attached to the cable, and I just try and work it as much. I do a bit of back on it, like on the cable machine again, pull in, just build it as much as I can. It's never going to be the same, but it's good to build it because a lot of amputees end up having back problems because of the imbalance. Even like sometimes I'm like this, it's because of the imbalance. That's why they ask me to wear the prosthetic, but I'm not putting something on that to pretend, unless it's going to move and start picking up the water or whatever. It's not beneficial to me.
Do you ever get the phantom pains, like the itchiness, or is that a myth or is that real?
Nah, that's real. That's real. Like right now, my fingers are here and I can move my fingers of the right side, but obviously I can't, and I can feel them, but it's the nerve, because the brain, the nerves don't ever cut it off. And at first it was down here and it's come up, and now it's like this stump is my hand. It feels like, if that makes sense. It's weird.
What about like sleeping? Is it your sleep? See, when you try to get to sleep, was that strange at the start?
Yeah, I had to be on sleeping tablets at first because it was like you couldn't, like you didn't have your arm. It was weird, and I had to take sleeping tablets. But now, like, it has been since 2008, so it's
used to it now.
Yeah, it's just become the norm now. Like, it's nearly, well, it's not, but soon it'll be like equal time without, you know.
But even though you lost your arm, you're still blessed to fucking be alive. Your arm you can hide, or you can still go on with life. If it was the face or the legs, I'd imagine that would be more damaging, you know?
Yeah.
Do you feel you are blessed to still be alive, especially now that you've made amends, because I'd imagine you'd have been suicidal as well at some point.
Mate, I was sitting on the train tracks at one point, like at night thinking, I want to kill myself. And obviously I never went through it because I didn't have the courage, and I'm thinking about my mum. But yeah, I've been suicidal the whole way through. And like I say, I was depressed all the way through, and it was fitness that dragged me out of that. Like, it made me feel, I don't know, it just went. It gave me discipline, it made me feel good about myself. Like, I've achieved something. I lost 5 stone. It was that changed. Yeah, so I was, but now I feel confident in this person I've become. I don't look at it like how I used to. Now I embrace it. It's like, this is the part of the journey. This is the way the cards I've been dealt, and I can make something of it. It just makes my journey more unique, I suppose, doesn't it? In a sense.
Do you ever look into the new technology? Obviously, with all the technology now, with new things and people getting fucking brain transplants and new arms with like robotic kind of stuff. Do you ever look into new technology to see if there's any progression, or have you just kind of dealt with it and happy with your life where it's progressed?
I'm not sure. I feel like I should look into it a bit more, because I don't know, but when I was in hospital, they told me that I had and I don't know if I'm saying this right, a brachioplexus fracture or something like that, which basically means you rip the nerves out the top of the spine or something. That's what I remember it as. But these times are very vague. And that means that the nerves, something to do with them arms. So I think the nerves kind of work with the arms, but because of that injury, I don't really understand, but they said you wouldn't be able to have one of them robotic ones. But I've never ever tried to see if that's the case now or if things have changed, and I don't know if that was right, or I've never really looked at it, no. But some of them are amazing. I've seen people have transplants. My friends send them to me, like, look at this, he's had a transplant, and you should do this. I think it was on Channel 5, and he sent it to me, like, why don't you get that? Like, just get someone else's arm put on you.
That is mad. People are like, they're cloning things, and like you say, people getting fucking stem cells with just mad stuff and the robotic stuff and everything. It just looks, but again, with the future and the technology and the AI sort of things, I believe things will move moving fast. I seen a guy who was blind for like 50 odd years, and then they done a treatment to the brain, and the guy can see. Like, it's unbelievable the technology now. But when you're already on your path, you probably don't want to get your hopes up as well.
Yeah, it's true. I don't buy into it yet, but if it come available and I'd seen it's been working, then I'd definitely contemplate it. At least you'd have to think about it, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
But I'm not sure. Yeah, hopefully in the future.
Yeah, hopefully, brother. Listen, what's your plans for the future now, talking about it?
Yeah, so like I want to, like I say, get more speeches in corporate settings, maybe, about resilience, grit. The goal is to reduce crime that is driven by trauma, that sharing my experience, yeah? And doing that with, like I said, a practical guide that I've written, my own book, talks, just getting this message out there. Maybe it resonates with people, they start doing their own healing journey or coming more self-aware of how it's impacting them, and just really make a positive contribution to society. That is my goal. And then I believe what will come from that. Do you know, like, I've contributed negatively my whole life, and now I can continue to do it for as long as I'm on this planet in a positive way and make actual positive contributions. And then hopefully along that way, things go good for me.
Yeah, you're clearly on the right path to where you've came from. 17 stone, fucking in and out of prison, robberies. It's just crazy life as well, but it shows what can be done with a flick of the switch and going, I'm not accepting this life anymore, and working deep within. And you see the results. You'll see the results, and you'll only keep seeing them. See, when you're with other people who's kind of, you know, when you meet people and you just know they're not on that, you know they're lost. Do you feel that when you speak to other people and you can tell by the persona that was you as well? Do you feel that now?
100%. And because I work with another charity, and I work there, and there's this people, they have a couple of guys that come and work sometimes, and this guy was there on a 3-month contract, and he'd been in prison and he was lost. He was like to me, I don't know what I want to do. And I'm like, I've been there, you know, when you just got no purpose and you don't know what you want to do. And I'm like to him, what do you like? And I was just trying to chat with him, and he's like, I don't know, like, this contract's ending soon and I don't know what I'm going to do. And I was talking to him and trying to help him. And then he ends up back in prison. Now he's in prison, and it's just like, I felt like I should have been able to help him more, but you can't tell someone what they're going to do. You can only share what you've done, and if it resonates with them, but you can't tell him what to do, and now he's in prison again. So it's like, how can I next time make that less of a chance of him going back to prison? I've been thinking about that myself. Like, how can I share more or help him more? Because obviously me talking to him didn't change him going out and getting into trouble, you know?
Yeah.
In that scenario, but not everyone's ready for change, are they?
Yeah, you can't save everybody either.
No.
You can only, sometimes actions can be enough for people to go, if he's doing it, I can do it, instead of words, because some people ain't ready to listen. Because if you were active and somebody says to you, if that guy who you looked up to, the inspiration, came to you maybe 5 years before that, you'd have told him to fuck off.
Yeah.
People
What you
used to
talking
tell me about my drinking and drug taking all the time. I used to think, yeah, and I used to think, fucking mug. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then if I try to tell kids now, well, like, listen, this is, you can start now and have the fucking positive life in your 30s and 40s. I'm working at mine's late 30s, 40s, 50s. I'm not 20 years behind, but because I've learnt a lot in that life. But if you can eliminate those negatives, I guarantee you're going to feel better and you're going to be a free thinker and see things differently. But if you don't, it takes away your free thinking, doing all the negative stuff. See that waking up full of anger and fucking rage? That's the worst feeling ever.
Yeah, but at the time you don't always feel it, do you?
No.
Yeah.
But when you think about it now, when your life starts becoming calmer, it does become boring. But that's at peace. You're at peace when your life's full of chaos and noise and the phone going, there's problems here, I've got this turn, you want to make money here. It's just, and it's all negative interactions. There's smoking weed, it's fucking drink, it's violence, it's cocaine, it's parties, it's just 100 mile an hour. There's never any rest. But when you actually take a day off, you feel as if there's something missing. So you get back involved in the chaos. But stripping all that back is painful. Taking away that fucking ride or die mentality, you do become lost, and you think, am I doing the right fucking decisions? But when you start making the better plans and start, the most important thing from it all as well is the relationships that you touched on, is building those relationships. Have a better relationship with my family now, the kids, my mother, my sister, and being present with them.
Yeah.
You need me, I'm there. Sometimes people needed me and I was phone was off for 3-4 days because I was just fucking loose cannon. Do you know what I mean? It's heartbreaking, because everybody's got goodness in them. Everybody's got change in them to be better, to do better, because man boxes are flooded with people who struggle. Every fucking day I'm on the hash or weed or fucking coke, or I'm boozing, or I'm struggling with a relationship. But the only thing is, you need to dig deep and make the changes yourself.
Yeah.
I can only say a few words, and sometimes it could be the wrong thing I say, sometimes it could be the right, and some people do listen, but it's the people who make the changes for 3 months of life who's going great, and then they slip back into it.
Mm-hmm.
It's just to keep reminding yourself why you wanted to change. Do you ever think about the old life and miss it?
Not at all, you know. When I got recalled, it was like, I felt like down, and it's like, I'm back in this thing, and I've not even done it. I don't want this life, and yeah, no, I don't miss it. Maybe it's financially you probably do at the beginning, because it's hard, isn't it? Like, and I'm still on the journey at the beginning, so. But I never ever consider going back that way. No,
Yeah, good on you.
I can't, man. I can't do that to my family. Not like I just said to you, I've built these relationships, and I can't put her through that no more.
Because it's a self-sabotage that comes with it. You've got a couple of books ready to go out, you're losed all the weight, you've done it all. But even the thing about change as well and doing the right things, sometimes we feel as if it's all going to end anyway, because we're used to fucking negative madness where nothing ever becomes good. So when you actually do good, you think it's going to get stripped away. So what we'll do is rip the whole ceiling down anyway. I'll destroy it before it even fucking happens, but in time it might not even happen anyway. But do you ever feel the self-sabotage thoughts coming in, or are you totally past that?
No, I don't really get that. I don't get self-sabotage thoughts. I'll just try to stay focused and have a strict routine, and because I continuously do that, I don't slip into that. I think it's the people I'm around as well, and they wouldn't allow, but they don't think like that. I'm not in
Bad company to make those bad
and
choices.
I think they pick me up because the hardest thing is to be continuously working and not seeing progress, and like sometimes you don't see it, but you got to still continue, and then it will come. And that's when you start probably getting them thoughts. But I've got the people around me that just say, Chris, just keep doing and things were going to happen. Mm-hmm. And yeah, so at the moment, I've been fortunate enough to stay away from them kind of self-sabotaging thoughts.
For anybody that's watching that's in that struggle now, it's under that dark cloud, and they think, fuck me, like, nothing's going to change, what advice would you have for them?
Change, yeah, that's a good question. You have to, like I said already, you have to look up what's gone on. You have to analyze who you're around, because the company you keep, man, it was majorly impacting the way I show up as well. So it would be working through your own stuff and working out the people that are around you, bringing positive outcomes. If not, then you need to address the circle you keep and the way you see see the world, because nothing's going to change if you keep seeing it the same way. Blame, like blaming everyone, no accountability, no self-awareness. You have to work on yourself, and no point working on yourself if you're keeping the same company, because it's never gonna go together. So yeah, just work on yourself and watch out for who you're around. Personally,
How important is meditation for you?
every morning, it made me more present. Like because I suffer from like hypervigilance through the PTSD. I used to like be always like watching out. Being meditating, just focusing on that breath for like 30 minutes every morning makes me calm. It sets my day. Before I go to the gym, I do that when I wake up. And then it's like, when I have conversations, I can be there. I can focus on one thing more. I don't know. It just made me more able to be present in conversations than before. I'd be like, and thoughts going on. And yeah, that's been massive. I have to do that every morning, without doubt. Probably as important as fitness to me.
What's your social medias and stuff for anybody that are watching that's maybe wanting to get you to speak in schools or prisons or help you with your book? How can people contact you?
Chris Baker _, like Chris _Baker. Double underscore. I'll give you the link.
Is that Instagram, Twitter?
Yeah, everything is the same. I'll send it.
Yeah, send us it, brother. But would you like to finish up on anything, Chrissy boy?
Yeah, I'd love to say, like, nothing here. I'm not trying to glorify anything. This is not me trying to say that crime's good or telling you my story for like you to feel sorry for me. It's all to add context to how people can address their own stuff. It's not about saying the crime's good or trying to get ratings off of what I've done. I'm actually not happy with the things I've done. Like this is the reason I want to change, and I just want it to resonate with people. So it's really just understanding that it's not about. I'm not here to glorify anything that I've done.
But I think people who watch, like the UK public ain't daft, bro.
Yeah.
They'll see that. They'll see you're a good guy. They'll see you've made changes. We're not here fucking, it's just get involved in this. But we've still got to touch on your past for people to understand you, to then making changes. Because if you just come in here and think, oh, I've lost my arm, I've made changes, I've lost 5 stone, it's a good story, but it's not as powerful and impactful as, wait a minute, I was still fucking robbing people with one arm. I was doing this. My head was fried. My dad's fucked up. I put my mum through pressure every day of her life, to then making changes. And then what happens is, the thing about these podcasts is to get an understanding of your story.
Yeah.
No stone is unturned. This is your life. You fucked up here, but you're doing fucking amazing now. So everything you're doing, I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
Losing the weight, staying on the journey, writing the books. I'll promote anything you need promoting when the books are out as well. I'm happy to help.
Thank you very much.
I'm a very busy man, but you've got my number. So any questions, anything, I'll always be in touch. So listen, for coming on today and telling your story, brother.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thanks
I
for having me.
genuinely wish you all the best for the future.
Brilliant.
Keep shining that light and try to do the right thing.
Yeah, thank you, James. Thanks for having me.
God bless you, bro.